This is the Friday Night Fever Afterburn, sponsored by Peden Heating and Air Conditioning.
Welcome to Friday Night Fever Afterburn, Week 8 of the high school football season, and this was a good one. We got a lot to talk about tonight, a lot of great games, some with playoff implications, a couple of teams clinching the playoffs. We're going to get right into the scores. Then we got a special guest tonight, but let's go through those scores first, Kaleigh.
Starting off a game of the week over in Port St. Joe, Bozeman remains undefeated. 22-20 is the final from that one. And then we have Walton at home hosting Pensacola Catholic. That's been one Walton's been looking to win for a long time. 23-21 is the final in the Braves' favor. Then over at South Walton, Walton County, another matchup, 35-15. South Walton wins that district, 19 wins that district battle. And then Holmes County at home, again, 53-21 is the final for the Blue Devils.
We got Arnold. They're going to get crushed tonight by St. John Paul II. Rutherford, a big win over North Bay Haven. That one has some playoff implications. I'll tell you about that in just a second. Did we already get that South Walton score? I missed that. Yeah, that clinches South Walton the playoffs with Rutherford winning tonight. So now Walton and South Walton clinch the playoffs. Mosley 35-0 over Crestview, and Gadsden County going to knock off Mariana by 10 points at home. There we go. There's the next.
The next page, we have Liberty County on the road in Alabama. 17-14 is the final. Bulldogs falling in that one. Sneed's at home for the first time in a while, and their offense was back at it tonight. 53-9 is the final. Chipley on the road. We haven't seen them in a couple weeks. 32-13. The Tigers pick up the win over Destin. And then Cottondale on the road at Baconton Charter. 48-8 is the final from that one.
Got two more. Vernon, they pick up a win over Graceville 24-8, and then Wewa-Hitchcock 42-8 over Franklin County. So a couple teams, Franklin and Graceville, that struggled last year, struggling again this year, but Vernon and Wewa kind of keeping themselves in the playoff race.
Above water.
Right, keeping them definitely in that competition. So the game of the week was Bozeman and Port St. Joe with Trust Me, we will talk plenty about that. Don't you worry, Bucks. We will get there shortly. But first, we're going to go to the Walton and Pensacola Catholic game. That is because we have head coach Keith White with us. He's going to be joining us from Walton High School. I see him in the office. I don't know if you can hear us. Can you hear us, Coach? Say that again.
I said, you got me?
Hey, yep. We got you. We are live on Friday Night Fever Afterburn. I see you got some technical help in there as well. But
got my boys, baby. Got my boys.
Let's go. 23-21 victory in Walton's favor. We got the highlights. We got the first half highlights. We saw it was a battle in the first half. Just walk us through that game and what happened in the second half. Was it 23 consecutive points by your team? Is that what happened?
We was down. They took the opening drive and drove down and scored on us. And we come out our first possession and threw a pick six. Not a pick six, but we threw a pick. They scored on the very next play. Then I think we moved the ball a little bit. Come back out. Nuke McKenzie had a pick six, which you're showing right now, that kind of got us back in the game at 14-6. We took the next drive and drove it right down their throat. And went up. We actually made it 14-12 at halftime. Come out the second half and just moved the ball on them, just running it on them, and just a hard fought game. Defense played exceptional well, just holding them out of the end zone after they scored their 14. But yeah, we scored 23 unanswered, and then they come back and scored with about a minute to go on the clock, and like a little 2-minute drive on us, and then they tried an onside kick. We got it and run the clock out.
Wow, what a ball game over there in Defuniak Springs. For anybody who doesn't know, Walton is now beating Pensacola Catholic for the first time since 2004. I went back. I did the math. I went back and saw it all. I know that was long before your time as a Walton Brave, but that is the one team. I was asking your guys at the beginning of the season, who are you looking forward to? I'm thinking they're going to say South Walton. They're like, no. We want Pensacola Catholic. That's the one that's going to decide a district title. And it does decide a district title because Pensacola is mathematically eliminated. You guys will have them later on. But this was the district title game, even though you still got one more to play. Just talk about that. You still have plenty of football left to play, but you guys have clinched a spot in the playoffs. What's the locker room like after the game?
Well, I told you 3 weeks ago, you want to start talking about all these rankings and all this stuff. And I said, I'll talk to you after this 4-game stretch is over with. Well, now that we took care of West Florida on the road and we got Pensacola at home, we'll talk now. But, we've got something special brewing. I've got my offensive coordinator here in the background. I mean, he has done a tremendous job for us all year, but there's something special going on. It's a special group. It's a special tight-knit group. I mean, we're doing some things that's just unbelievable, things that haven't been done here in 20 years. And it has nothing to do with us. It has all to do with the players, and it's just special.
Right. And again, I'm throwing out these stats. I'm a stat guy, I'm the nerd that's not out there playing football. I'm just back here talking. But, first win over Pensacola Catholic since 2004. Coming into this week, you guys were, a top 15 team in the entire state. Again, we don't want to talk about the rankings, but number 2 in your classification. Now you've already clinched the playoffs with plenty of football in the regular season left to go. Like you mentioned, this is a special team, a special group. Is there a goal at this point? Is there, state championship, or are we still taking it one game at a time? What is this group doing as we head into next week?
We go one game at a time. We're not talking about nothing but Gaston County. We're going to enjoy this one tonight. We are the district. I think we're the district champions. I mean, I don't think there's no chance that we can't be the district champions because we beat the 2 teams. I think we could lose to PHS and still be the district champion. Because they've got 2 losses. If it comes down to head-to-head, we've already beat the other 2 teams. So I think tonight kind of locked up a district championship. We're trying to get the number 1 seed so that we can host all throughout the region. But we're worried about Gaston County. That's all we're talking about. That's what we talked about in the huddle after the game. And we're going to enjoy this one tonight, but we're going to go to work Monday on Gaston County, and that's all we're going to worry about.
Awesome, Coach. Well, we appreciate you joining in with us. I appreciate your support staff, getting you guys on for this call. This is the first time we've done it this season. Maybe we'll get a couple more as we head into the end of the year, but we're gonna let you get going. And again, congratulations on a big win for those Walton Braves. Hope you enjoy the rest of the regular season. We know we got a lot of football left to play with you guys.
I appreciate both of y'all. Y'all have done a great job covering us. We appreciate the coverage. Y'all do a super job. Y'all take pride in y'all's work. And we just thank you for all that y'all do and for covering us and giving us the opportunity to kind of glorify God. And thank you for always believing in us and trusting in us.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Coach. We will talk soon. And you guys enjoy that win tonight.
Oh, we are.
All right, Coach. We'll talk soon. That is going to do it for Coach Keith White and those Walton Braves, 23-21. What? Any other takeaways from that game? I mean, he kind of broke it down more than we could do, but a big win for them tonight.
I think it's just exciting to see, like Coach kind of hinted at, these players really turn things around before the season, and it's just so exciting to see them really come together, the excitement in the program. They've been wanting something like this for a long time. They have great history at home, so, hopefully, with how things are playing out, they'll be home in the playoffs, and so I think that would be huge for them. So it's just exciting to see where this program is going under Coach White.
Right, and we might get back to this game in just a little bit.
Yeah.
But right now we're going to go to the game of the week. We appreciate you Bozeman fans for hanging tight with us. That is the game of the week. That was the biggest game of the night. We got Coach Keith White on here. What did you see over there in St. Joe tonight, Kaleigh?
Well, we knew this one was going to be a big one for Bozeman. Probably their toughest game so far this season, and it was a tough defensive battle. This is something we talked about. We did a story on the Bozeman defense on Thursday, talking about how they only allow on average 8 points a game, and then you see them holding. Obviously, Port St. Joe's going to break away, score first in this one, but it was a back and forth battle. A lot of flags in this matchup. I think on every other play there was a flag, so that held these teams to a lot. But Bozeman started getting rolled. I mean, this play, let's just take a moment for this one. Peyton Gay going down, he still lobs it off. Colin Miller gets the grab, no one there. He takes it to the house for their first score. They kick the extra point. They go up 7-6. They stay in control. It's pretty back and forth the rest of the first half, and then they, it remains that way through the second, just winning 22-20. So I know this is a big win for Bozeman. They looked good tonight. Obviously, Port St. Joe is going to be a tough team to beat, but this was also a heartbreaking play for them. High snap goes all the way back when they were in scoring position. But, they wanted it. They got the win. Hard one for Port St. Joe, but, Bozeman looks good. And I know they're ready for the next week and the next week and the next week because it only gets harder for them.
Right. This is just one step in the ladder because they do have their work cut out for them ahead of this one. But a big win for Bozeman tonight, 7-0 for the first time in school history. It just gets better every week. 4-0 for the first time, 5-0, 6-0, now 7-0 for the first time in school history. 8-3 is their best record ever. That's in 2012. So they're one win from tying that.
I know.
They're certainly not going to go easy with the Chipley and Holmes County in the next 2 weeks. But an excellent start for the Bucks. I will say this is a team that, it is very difficult to win at St. Joe. It is, not discounting that in the slightest bit. But you kind of expected, after a big win over an undefeated Destin last week, that Bozeman kind of needs to go in and put a statement, come out and just dominate Port St. Joe. That doesn't happen tonight. It's just a 2-point win, and I'm sure, a win is a win in their book. They're happy about it. But I'm sure, Chipley right now is looking at it and going, okay, this is a team that's barely escaping over there. We might be able to, make something happen next week.
Well, and I think Port St. Joe has been a little bit of a hard team to read. They had a very close loss to South Walton. Then they battled back over Rutherford. That was a little bit of a closer one too, falling to Bluntstown and then putting up an impressive win over Vernon last week. So, they've hung in there with a lot of their opponents, win or lose. So I think this is what I expected from Port St. Joe. I knew they were going to be tough for Bozeman. Everything that I kind of expected from this matchup I saw. Both defenses looked good. Offense kind of had some breakaways. And, hyping up the Bozeman defense a couple days ago, I definitely saw some of those players we were talking about and saw that kind of come to light when I got to see them in person.
Right. And for you Florida State fans out there, I'm going to kind of relate this to, a Florida State Clemson game where, it's not Clemson's best year by any means. They're not a national champion, that like this Port St. Joe team, they would admittedly say, we are probably not going to win a state championship this year. But it's still St. Joe, and Bozeman goes over, and a win is a win for them. They haven't beat them in 10 years. It's been 10 years since they beat St. Joe.
Yeah, 2012.
I think we said the stats of the last 6 games was, 267
to 41.
41.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's been really one-sided, in this matchup over the last decade. So a big one for Bozeman. But also, you kind of see, okay, they're the third-ranked team in the state. You kind of expect something just dominant. It doesn't happen, but again, similar to that Florida State Clemson one, you're like, wait, we're just glad to get out of here alive, So definitely a big congratulations to those Bozeman Bucks. Coach Griffin and the crew, they are very talented. I certainly think that they have the potential to go in and beat a Chipley and a Holmes County in the next 2 weeks. Yeah. We'll have to wait and see what happens, but a big win for those Bucks tonight against the Port St. Joe Tiger Sharks. We're going to head back to Walton County. Yeah. South Walton with a 35-19 victory over Bay High. I hinted at it earlier. That clinches them a spot in the playoffs. So the 2 teams that we have in the playoffs as of tonight, South Walton and Walton. So we knew that those teams were going to be good. And we knew that this district was going to be kind of up for grabs. It looked like Bay might have them a little bit in the first half, but South Walton just takes off in the second half. They return the opening kickoff for a touchdown, and that seals it. This is a year where we thought, okay, is it going to be Bay? Is it going to be South Walton? Does North Bay Haven have a chance?
Yeah.
And now South Walton's kind of just asserted themselves as like, all right, we are the team. We are never in doubt. Now we're 2-0. We'll, get North Bay Haven in a couple weeks to put that nice 3-0 if they get the win. But, hey, they're clinched a spot in the playoffs. I'm sure they feel good about it. What do you think from this matchup?
This one was just a lot more. I was at this game last year, and it was just a gridlock defensive battle. I think it ended up being 7-0 in Bay's favor. It was an impressive defensive game, but it's good to kind of see the offensive power shine through. This is always going to be a tough one in my opinion. 2 good teams. South Walton kind of shined through, but Bay also looked good. There was a couple big plays, a couple fast runs that caught my eye. So, this is a tough one. There's a lot on the line with the district, so I was impressed.
Yeah, and again, like we said, we didn't think that maybe at this point in the year we'd already be seeing some teams lock up a spot in the playoffs. This was one that, coming into the night, we're like, okay, could Bay win and North Bay Haven win, and that caused some sort of 3-way tie, crazy debacle that we'll have to do in a couple of weeks. And then tonight it ended just as fast as we were thinking about all those scenarios. Rutherford beat North Bay Haven, so that gives us now 0-2 for North Bay Haven in the division, 1-1 for Rutherford, 1-1 for Bay, 2-0 for South Walton. So that's going to lock it as far as play-by-play matchup. But a big win for those Seahawks.
And we know
tonight.
Coach Tisa's happy.
I know he's happy. Friend of the show, Coach Tisa. He's definitely enjoying that one. He definitely got some winnable matchups moving forward too. He's got a Mariana at the end of the year, but other than that, South Walton really could win out. And at this point, it's just building those seeds because hey, you're in the postseason, but right now you just want to get that home field advantage. So, another team that we're going to move to that's been looking phenomenal lately, that is the Holmes County Blue Devils. What did you see from this matchup tonight?
Well, I was a little surprised to start it out. This play doesn't surprise me. Landon Lumpkin really doing it all for his team this season, but it was a 14-14 game at one point. Freeport was leading 7-6 at one point. Not something you would necessarily expect with Holmes County at home. Obviously, they started to heat up towards the end, but I was impressed with Freeport just really hanging in there and, getting to the end zone, putting up some scores. I know that's a big one that they wanted to do that for. Obviously, it trailed away, but I think to see Freeport really hang in there in the first couple of drives was really impressive to see from the Bulldogs.
Right, and I heard our reporter Jared was on the sidelines and heard them kind of talking ahead, going, man, we're looking forward to maybe an undefeated Bozeman in a couple weeks, or right now they're the number 3 team in the state. We can't wait to play them. And you kind of think like, okay, if Freeport jumps out on top, is Holmes County kind of looking ahead of their competition? Is that what's going on here? And then they said, all right, we got to figure things out. We cannot let this one slip. We're also, I think they're currently number 6 in the state at the moment. So certainly right there in the conversation for, a first place, spot in the region for second place. But tonight kind of going ahead and pulling away from Freeport, that's a big win for Holmes County. But again, Bozeman's still got to get through Chipley to get to Holmes County, so that by no means is an easy task. Chipley picking up a big win over the Destin Sharks tonight, so we're going to have a 1-loss Chipley and an undefeated Bozeman next week in Chipley. I mean, we were talking about this previously where it's kind of like that game day thing where it's like you don't want to go back to the same teams over and over and over, but how do you not give it to, an undefeated Bozeman at a 1-loss Chipley?
And Chipley's a team we really haven't seen too much of this year. They've been off the last 2 weeks, and then before that caught them here and there, but they've been off kind of playing host or traveling out of state. So we haven't seen them that much.
Yeah, that should be a fun one next week. We are going to get to that Rutherford North Bay Haven game. As far as playoffs go, it kind of almost sealed both of their fates tonight because North Bay Haven was in competition. They were within reach. If they win against Rutherford, they're 1-1, and then if they beat South Walton, they have a chance to win the district, or at least get into a 3-way tie. It gets into the math at that point.
Yeah.
But then tonight, losing to Rutherford, that just kind of seals their deal. North Bay Haven can still maybe sneak a spot in if they win out, but tough competition with the South Walton. They got 2 winnable games for sure on their schedule, but South Walton, that's going to be a tough one. But we are going to take a look at Rutherford and North Bay Haven because we do got some good highlights for tonight.
Yeah.
Willie Hawley went crazy on defense, special teams. We had Jakari Brown going crazy on defense and special teams. Here's Jakari Brown. He returns it for a touchdown off the kickoff. He had an interception. He had a couple rushing touchdowns. Jakari Brown is the man. And obviously Willie Hawley's the man too. They were going back and forth tonight. But what do you think from this game? Rutherford kind of, that's 2 in a row for them because we said, they're the best Oper team in the state coming in the last week. And now 2 in a row for the Rutherford Rams.
I mean, first of all, wait for it. Horns down. Don't know if that's probably not for Texas, but I'm going to say it's for Texas. Horns down. But I think this really reigns true to everyone saying, Rutherford's the best 0-4, 0-5, whatever the record was at the time when people were saying this. They had a lot of tough teams on their schedule to start out this season. And losing, everyone just thinks they're a bad team, but there's a lot of potential on this team, and I think playing such tough opponents to start out the season has really shaped them. They've seen so much in those first couple of weeks. Not saying that North Bay Haven's not a tough opponent, but now when it's district play, they're a little bit more adept. They can handle it a little bit more, and they really shine through and show that they can win these games. So I think it was definitely an impressive win for Rutherford. Heartbreaking for North Bay Haven, but it's district play. I mean, this is what you want from it.
Right, and this is one that's definitely got to be a confidence boost to Coach Floyd, because I'm sure he had so many close games at the beginning of the year, so many games. It's like, man, like if a couple things go our way, this could look different. At least keep it competitive. Starting was it 0-5, I think they were 0-4, 0-5, and now they've won 2 in a row. You might not be competing for the playoffs. The season might be over when the regular season ends, but you got to be like, man, this makes us feel good about what we got moving in this direction from last year. And again, just a big win for the Rams, a tough one for North Bay Haven. We got great Friday night from Rutherford, 2 wins in a row, getting better. That is Coach Olds. I'm just realizing after all of this that I haven't had my comments this whole time. I should be checking in on these things, but I can't even see them. But a big win tonight. Yeah, I got them now. So big win tonight for the Rutherford Rams. That's 2 in a row. That's right, Coach Old. Congratulations to your Rutherford Rams. Coach Nichols, Granville's happy tonight with the Bucks. He's been giving me those jeers. For anybody who doesn't know, my brother is the head basketball coach at Bozeman, so Coach Nichols likes to throw those jabs that I'm a little bit of a homer. But yes, a big win for the night for the Walton Braves as well. We're going to do everybody a favor and not show those Arnold highlights tonight. It was a nasty one over there at Gavlac Stadium. We said Rutherford was the best Ophir team. It might have been St. John Paul II, because they had some athletes over there. They just played some tough competition. But again, Mosley wins 35-0. Mariana loses 34-24. Gadsden County's going to play Walton next week. So kind of they'll have to look over that film.
Yeah.
Liberty County, a tough one to Pike Lib up in Troy. Sneeds, this one is certainly one that they got to get the momentum rolling, because they started off 2-0 and lost 4 straight.
2-4.
So now they are 3-4. So still under 500, but a lot going on there. The Chipley Tigers, again, a big win tonight. They got Bozeman next week. Probably going to be our game of the week. Cottondale, a 40-point win.
I think from that Chipley score, too, that's something, that will help kind of preview. It was a similar score from the Bozeman-Destin game. So I think, seeing that these two teams kind of beat Destin in a similar way, maybe previews next week a little bit.
Right. And again, playing at Destin versus playing at Bozeman, of course, that kind of weighs in too.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of factors. I think Destin scored right before the half to tie it at 13, and they thought they had hope. Chipley kind of, got rid of that hope. But Chipley, second half team, Bozeman, a second half team. Just makes for an excellent matchup.
And we've seen so much craziness throughout this season with teams winning and losing and everything. So, you never know what's going to happen. But I think to see that from Chipley, when these two teams are going to go head and head next week, gives a little bit of a preview.
I do see a comment in 2 weeks, Mosley and Niceville for the district championship. That's right. That is going to be
Thursday night game.
That's going to be here
Thursday night game. Tommy Oliver.
Tommy Oliver Stadium, Thursday night. Mosley got their hands full because that Niceville team is very good this year. So we'll have to see how that plays out. Again, Vernon getting another win tonight. Weewa getting another win tonight. They're keeping their playoff hopes alive.
Yeah.
Do we have next week's games? We do have next week's games. That's right. Spencer's the man. That's why he's our award-winning producer 2 years running. Freeport going to Baker. That's on Thursday night. Mariana going to Troy. We got a lot of teams playing that Pike Liberal.
Yeah.
Troy. Gadsden County, again, going to play Walton. Fort Walton Beach, going to play at Bay.
Then we have Bozeman, Chipley, like we talked about, FAMU and Weewa-Hitchcock, Port St. Joe on the road to Franklin County, and Petula Charter versus Cottondale.
Then we got Jefferson County going to play at Vernon. I think that's a winnable one for Vernon. North Bay Haven going to Graceville. North Bay Haven definitely looking to bounce back. Bluntstown and Northview. That should be a pretty good ball game. Then Holmes County versus Liberty County. The county's going to battle that one. Liberty definitely needing to bounce back, and Holmes, they're keep rolling.
Well, district for Arnold, Lincoln, and Arnold. Then we have our couple bye-week teams. Bye of the Green, South Walton, and Mosley both on bye. And then Rutherford and Sneeds also on a bye.
Right. And I hate it for Arnold because Lincoln is an excellent football team.
Yeah, and it gets so hard for Arnold. And district as well.
That is something that maybe next year, I know the FHSA was talking about teams not having to play their district opponents, this kind of scheduling as is, and then that maybe would bring up a district championship by the highest ranked teams at the end of the year. We'll see how it all plays out. We won't get into that tonight. We'll get into that some other time. But for now, they got to play Lincoln, and best of luck. But that is going to do it for us tonight, week 8 of the high school football season. A lot of big wins. Bozeman, Walton, South Walton, Rutherford a big win tonight as well.
Yeah.
We'll be back for week 9, where we might see some more teams clinching the playoffs. We might have to see how that plays out. But a lot of fun ones this week. We have a lot more fun ones next week. We'll see you then.